Hey, what's up, guys? So we're live. We got Connor back in the studio. So
What's up? What's
first,
up?
so let's get on to that Super Bowl. So that shit was crazy, son. They only lost by 3 points, my Eagles. I was kind of disappointed. I'm not gonna lie, but I heard that they cheated the Chiefs. Did you hear about that?
I did hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, dude. So I heard that the field keeper works for the Chiefs. So the guy who always does the field for Super Bowls, he also works for the Chiefs. He also does their field. And I guess the Eagles slit like I don't know some like ridiculous amount of times, and like the Chiefs just were not slipping. So they're like, why are the Eagles slipping so much, and the fucking Chiefs aren't slipping at all? Oh, so that started a whole conspiracy. They're calling it Slipgate, but it's not getting a ton of news traction in the news, which is kind of whack. But dude, I don't know. I mean, I saw like they put like a ton of clips up of them slipping a shit ton, and the Chiefs not really slipping a lot. And I guess this
Bro, I
dude is
saw that.
yeah, and I guess this dude's like 90 or something, and is retiring. So that's why they did it, so he could try to win the Super Bowl. They still only lost by 3, which is hilarious.
Mm.
So y'all cheated and
I
still
do.
only could beat the
The thing I saw was because of Rihanna's big ass stage.
Oh, it was like something the stage had to do with
It
their
just like
slipping. Well, why?
it just like it pushed down on the on the turf and it like didn't allow. I think so. What I heard it was the NFL that's trying to
Mm,
get back at the players
makes sense. I
because
mean, the
everyone's
Eagles are
been
like,
complaining about turf and shit.
oh, okay. I was gonna say because the Eagles are
So
like
they're
one of the
like, here's
most.
some grass.
Yeah, the Eagles are like one of the most outspoken teams when it comes to like Black Lives Matter type issues. So I thought it was something like that when you said that at first. I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense because the Eagles do talk
Mm,
a lot about that type of
yeah.
stuff. So that might have pissed. Cause I know Roger Goodell does not like people talking about that type of stuff. He gets
No,
pissed.
literally.
Yeah. So I was like, maybe that's why. And they're normally a very like black team for sure. They're from Philadelphia. You know, Philadelphia is a black city, so they kind of represent like the black
Yeah,
culture almost sometimes. Just like how the
100%.
Ravens do sometimes. You know, the Ravens can get definitely very
Exactly.
into the
Yeah,
black. Yeah.
100%.
And so like it's not that big of a deal. I'm just saying like that would make sense. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You know, if they were talking a lot about Black Lives Matter again, because he just doesn't want that type of political talk in the league. And I understand that too, because you're just trying to make it fun for kids, and you don't
Yeah,
want people thinking
exactly.
about people getting shot. I get both sides. I really do get both sides. But sorry, I'm just trying to fill up my jar. I got a couple ounces
No, you're
or
you're
two
chilling, bro.
ounces. But yeah, but let's move on to lighter things. So so I started a bunch of seeds yesterday with my niece and nephew. Like vegetables like peppers and some summer squash, cucumbers, stuff like that and stuff. So
Hmm.
everybody should definitely get into their gardening and help the environment. I know it's cold as a bitch out there, but we're still like
Dude, yeah.
it's still like 4 fucking degrees over average out here, and I didn't get any snow in my area. I was telling you how the mountain over here right next to me gets a shit ton of snow on it.
Yeah,
Zero this year. We didn't get nothing. So I was like, yeah, we are definitely warm still in Cali. I don't know. It was definitely that the wind was up this
hmm.
year. I can tell it was probably it was windy as a bitch. It's been windy this winter. And that's probably why it's
Dude, no,
so.
yeah, the wind
Everybody.
chill this week,
Oh, I saw.
the
Yeah, I
wind
saw your
chill this
story.
week was making it like 3 degrees, bro. Fucking wild.
Oh shit. Oh, I
Uh,
thought you. Yeah. When you said it in your story, you said 9 degrees. I was like, oh my god, that's so fucking cold, dude. Fucking 9 degree
yeah,
wind
for
chill. That's
real.
probably freezing. Shut up, big boy.
Literally, dude.
Oh, dog's nuts. But no, it's fun. Did I already go through 3 ounces like that? Holy shit. Shit. That did fill up my jar quick. I'll have like a whole extra bag, I feel like. Nice. Um so yeah, so the outdoor so I'm like kind of in like a shitty space spot because I'm pretty sure a couple of my seeds that I popped and I kept around are boys. And that means
Mm,
not going to give us weed. And so I'm kind of getting pissed at the breeder. I'm like, dude, your shit sucks, nigga. Like that shit is crazy, son. And like to
yeah.
get that many boys like out of the keepers too, I'm like, yo, the grape ape looked like a girl. Earl, for that to turn out to
Uh,
be a boy, no stress to the grape ape. I was kind of pissed. I was on one. I was like, dude, I don't
yeah.
know if I'm definitely never rocking with them fools ever again. I'm never buying anything
Yeah,
from them
what?
dudes. It's called Daga
Especially when they're
Garden.
telling you like, yeah, it's this for sure, and then it's just like, nah.
But that ain't it at all. Yeah, you're tripping. Yeah, it's Dogga Garden. If you guys ever want seeds, definitely just hit me up. One, I'm trying to make my own seeds here soon, so I might have my
Mm-hmm.
own. But if I don't, I'll always give you reputable breeders because I try a lot of fucking shit. So like
Yeah,
I'll tell you
absolutely.
who's actually giving you good seeds and who's giving you some boof ass shit that's like, nah, don't buy from this. It's a waste of your time.
Mm-hmm.
There's this place like Attitude Seed Bank. They're out of the UK. They got an American website. I don't care for the American website too much. They were kind of rude to me when I hit them up for an interview. The UK site was mad cool, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're chill. We'll do an interview." I haven't hit them up since then to do it, but they're still chill. And then a couple other people even said that they do the interview. It was just the weekend or something like that. I don't even really remember,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn shit." I'm gonna turn this shit sideways so we can see me better. Um, I hate this like in between stage where like my hair is starting to get like curly again, and
Mm-hmm.
like, but it's still kind of like straight. That's fucking annoying me. It's right here. I can't find that shit. I got like alfalfa, but I got mad plants still. So I got a Girl Scout cookie that's mad cool. That smells like a Thin Mint cookie, like from Girl
No
Scouts.
way. That's awesome.
I swear to God, yeah, that shit's like mint and sweetness. That's what it smells like. So I'm hyped. I'm like really hyped about that one. I got this shit called What the Fuck that's looking really nice and big.
I
So I
remember
might
you telling
put.
me about the what the fuck. You definitely
So
gotta
my
let me try a little bit of that. When
yeah,
it's
that one's
ready.
pretty cool. That one's more green, smelling than anything. That's just like cushy, like good kush. Where
Mm-hmm.
the Girl Scout cookie is really gonna be like the bag appeal. I think that's gonna really turn mad purple. I also got a fucking wedding cake, bro.
Got you.
That's also looking mad fucking cool right now. That should turn purple
That's
as
fire.
shit. And so I'm happy about that. So we got a couple cool strains. I got a couple cool strains. So I got Tropicana Cookie that's going outdoors. I got this shit called Grape Canyon Skittles that'll go outdoors. I got this shit called Mango Haze that's going outdoors. And then but the Mango Haze isn't that big, so that we might not have that. That might just be my shit to smoke on at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the Grape Canyon Skittles, because those aren't very big and they're taking a long time to grow in this organic setup. So I feel like they're definitely more of like a synthetic nutrient plant liking, like they would just like more of the synthetic nutrients.
Yeah, I
And
got you.
so I'm trying to get like a fucking I'm trying to get a couple more seeds maybe or some clones that actually end up getting kind of big. And I'm gonna do an
Uh-huh.
indoor grow. So I'm gonna
Oh,
definitely flip
okay.
the indoor. I'm gonna do gelato. I got a gelato that's big that I'm gonna flip indoors. And then I got an apples and bananas that I'm gonna flip indoors, which is Granddaddy Purple across the Girl Scout cookies. And it's fruity. It's
Ugh.
pretty fruity. Yeah, it's pretty fruity.
That sounds
It
fire,
smells like
dude.
yeah, it smells like rotten fruit. I swear to God, it smells like rotten fruit. It's weird. It's, it's not weird smelling. It smells good. It
No,
just
it's
smells
not
good.
bad. Like, no, yeah.
But not rotting fruit like it stinks like bad. Like fruit that's just like old fruit. That's what it smells like. That's better to
Oh,
describe
okay,
it.
I
Like
got you.
you ever left fruit
Like
in your car?
citrusy?
Not even citrus, more like a
Yeah.
banana, son. Like a banana and an apple. That's literally what it smells like.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
have you ever left like a banana in your car or something like
Yeah, of
that? Like
course.
something. Do you know what it's? You know that kind of like
Yeah,
smell,
yeah,
like
like
the
kind of like warmish.
like a warm fruit. That is exactly what that shit smells like. It's the craziest thing I've ever
Oh,
smelled.
okay. That's
I'm like,
wild.
what the? I know, right? I'm like, how the fuck do they get cannabis, weed? They smell like an apple and a fucking banana, son. These dudes are mad geniuses out here. I don't know
Do you
what
think
the hell
they're
they're
like
doing.
crossing it with actual fruit or not? Is it just
What?
like synthetic?
No, so it's definitely not synthetic because I don't use synthetic nutrients. So what I think
Well,
it
no, not
personally
you,
is,
but I'm just saying motherfuckers in general that get it like this.
right? So what I think it personally is from composting, which is breaking, like letting fruit break down, turn into soil, turn into like a
Got
kind of like a,
you.
and I think that's how it's uptaking the terpene profile. That's how I think they
Hmm.
bred it. It's just years of
And like
growing it
similar
in
thing when you use the blueberry growth stuff.
right. Yeah, that's same thing.
Okay.
Like when I had when you throw like because I composted. I think I told you that I composted like blueberries, bananas, and like mushrooms into my fucking soil. And the reason for that is
Hmm.
like mushrooms are really good in like a fungal dominated soil because they're a type of fungus,
Yeah.
and so that'll help the plant grow. Bananas are high in potassium. That'll help the plant smell better. And then blueberries are higher in acidity, which is also going to help pH the soil. So all those things are actually going to help your soil and help your plant grow better,
Hmm.
which is crazy. And
Got
then
you.
you can also increase terpene profiles and can make things smell better. Especially if you grow it organically, you're definitely going to get more of a natural terpene profile because a lot of the times it's synthetic grows, what they do is they'll put terpene enhancers and stuff like that to make it smell like something that it naturally wouldn't smell like. So like if you had purple punch,
Gotcha.
which smells more like a lemon, it'll smell like it smell cushy in a synthetic grow for some reason because they're using like a gas terpene or something like that because everybody wanted gas for a bit. I don't know why everybody wanted gas. I hated that fucking trend. I thought it was stupid.
What, like gasoline?
Yeah, the whole gas, like this shit is gas. I have never liked the gas smell. I always think that shit smells like trash. And that's my opinion. I know that's a bad opinion. I know a lot of people. I like the fruity strains. And so when everybody went gas, and that was more like a hood thing. I know a lot of black guys definitely did like the gas terpene and shit. So for me, I'm definitely lacking on that. But I was not a gas dude. That shit was trash.
For me,
yeah, for me, dog, that shit was whack. No.
That shit was whack.
Right, and so, but nah, fuck, dude. Wait, did you see the video of Ice Spice getting clapped on, like getting her back clapped on fucking Twitter, dude?
No.
Oh my god, you gotta go on Twitter, look up Ice Spice sex tape. That shit's gonna be, dude. It's wild. It's weird looking. It's weird. I'm gonna tell you that it's weird. It's definitely Ice Spice.
Weird.
She like farts in the middle of it or something, dog. It's fucking weird,
Bro,
dude. I was like,
what?
I swear to God, I was like, I saw it. I was like, oh, is that Ice Spice? I'm like, no way. No way. Some like, I think it's like one of her ex-boyfriends that like leaked her shit or something like that, dude.
No way, bro.
Fucking check that shit. This bitch. It looks like Ice Spice, but dude, she's getting clapped and she like farts. It's the funniest shit
I've seen this. I think I did see this.
It's weird. It's a little weird. It's a little weird for sure. The video is definitely weird. If I was Ice Spice, I would definitely try to get that shit taken down. Even if it isn't her. Even if it wasn't.
I mean, that's her. That's for sure her.
It looks like her.
I don't know anyone else who has that fucking haircut other than like
her, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I'm also saying like a lot of people in the comment section keep saying, "Fucking her ass isn't fat enough for it to be her." I'm like, I don't know, nigga. I don't know because I don't know anybody else who had that fucking haircut besides her ass. Though she rocked it. She was pretty cute. She definitely rocked it. She definitely changed her hair quick as shit after that video came out, though, dude. I swear. Her shit went straight. Her hair went straight. I was like, this is just crazy. You thought I was feeling you?
Bro.
Y'all niggas a bunch. That's why they posted that shit.
Literally, they felt hurt.
Right. Yeah, they were. They were like, who's a munch? This bitch is tripping. The Bronx went crazy on that bitch. That's hilarious. My cousin's not really from the Bronx, but the Bronx be wildin'. I got to get out there one time. I don't really know anybody, but we'll traverse the Bronx, see what it's like. That's actually one of my big boy. What is wrong with you?
It's 4:20 in Arizona, so I'm gonna take a bowl.
Oh, I got you.
Clean my bond today too. Cheers.
There you go. I don't really like Epsom salt rubbing alcohol shit.
Really?
Is that how you did it with the Epsom salt and rubbing alcohol?
Not Epsom salt, just regular Morton fucking salt.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just bought new weed, so this is like a different strain and it's hitting me hard.
That's fire.
Right. But yeah, fuck, dude. Yeah, that's like honestly where I get 90% of like my clips. Like when I post like a fight clip or like some stupid shit, it's in New York or in the hood in Atlanta.
No, literally.
Atlanta, the hood, or Houston's really not that bad anymore, but Chicago's all right. You know, Chicago, you'll get fights out of there for sure. Chad sent you a message. Dude, I play this game called Conflict of Nations, World War III. And so it's a fucking game where you get to pick a country and then you build up your military, you build up like your cities and make them strong, and then you can go attack people like immediately. And they'll give you troops to start with too. So what end up happening is like, bro, I'll fucking I play as Ethiopia because it's funny. And so I'm like, and they're like one of the more OP African countries. So you have like Ethiopia, Egypt, South Africa, Chad, Congo is kind of cool in the game, but not really in real life. They're not really OP in real life, but in the game they're pretty OP. And so what ends up happening, bro, is so I'll play as Ethiopia, and I always like fucking dick on like Egypt and Sudan for the fun of it, because like it's just one, it's funny to me because Egypt has the strongest military in Africa right now. and they're not obviously black in Egypt anymore. Well, there are a lot of black people still in Egypt, but like the people who are in control of Egypt are not black. They're like Arabic. They're mostly Syrian now at this point.
Yeah.
Because in like biblical times, and when I mean biblical times, I'm meaning like history. This is actually when the Bible was taking place, like the events of the Bible were taking place. And so the Syrians invaded Egypt, went down to Nubia, got their ass whooped, and then the Nubians, who are like black Egyptians, they ran up through Egypt, went all the way through Jerusalem. Oh, that nigga left. We gotta wait for Connor to come back. There you go. You good. So they fucking they went all the way up through Jerusalem, all the way into Syria, killed their king, and then they come back and whoop their ass after that. And then ever since then, Egypt has been kind of ran by like Syrian, ancient Syrians basically. So these people, if you trace their bloodline far enough back, they'd be Syrian. But by nowadays, they're kind of more Egyptian. And Egyptian, I was actually telling JT about this the other day. Egypt itself. So when they were building pyramids, Egypt wasn't even called that when they were building pyramids. It was called something else. It was called Kemet. That's what. And so So it's called something completely different. Egypt's actually more of like an Arabic name for what a lot of people kind of think of it as like a translation of Kemet, or a loose translation of Kemet into Arabic. And so, and that's mostly what they speak in Northern Africa. They're mostly Arabic in Northern Africa nowadays. There are some black people, but it's very rare there. Egypt, Libya, Algeria definitely being more black, and Morocco being more black too. But that's like North Africa right there. And that's just because they be fucking fighting with like the Ottoman Empire and fucking then they get their ass invaded by them and shit like that. And then then after that. And then obviously South Africa, you know what South Africa? Do you know anything about South Africa? Like the country?
It's basically just England.
Yeah, it's England. They're like white. They're like white people. They're racist too. We're racist white people. It's not like England. Actually, it's really more just like it's actually more like America than it is. It is.
Yeah,
like
literally. Yeah.
Because they're wilding out there with black people. They do not like black people out there. In like Cape Town and East London, Johannesburg. Those are all the names. Like those are the main cities and shit. And they're definitely like segregation still rules there. Like they're still segregated there. I mean, it's technically desegregated, but they haven't like they don't let people actually move in next to each other unless you actually have like some type of money. Then like obviously then they can't force you not to. But it's wild. It's weird. It's like goddamn.
No, yeah,
shit.
it's wild as fuck over there.
I know, in Africa too. You're like, goddamn. Black people, we got to do something. We got to kick somebody's ass up in here quick, because that ain't cool.
Kick somebody's ass.
Yeah, dude, because that's not a good look. That's not a good look to let white people be telling you what the fuck to do in your own continent. You're like, all right, bro. Somebody get an army up in here. Somebody attack these fools and get them back to England. Send them to Australia if they like it hot. You know? But like, yeah, I don't know. World's a weird place. It's a weird place. Well, do you know that Ethiopia and Egypt might go to war soon?
Over what?
Swear, water. Because so what happened was Ethiopia, that's where the Nile starts. It's called the Blue Nile, and then it turns into the Nile as it comes. So the Blue Nile is actually fresh water, and that's where most of the fresh water from Egypt comes from. Is from the Blue Nile, which starts in Ethiopia. Well, Ethiopia was like, well, we want to dam the Nile so that we can start creating energy, and it would actually give 60% of our population that doesn't have energy, it would give them energy. And so they're like, Ethiopia's like, well, this is a good idea, we should do it. Egypt's like, fuck no, you can't do that. And they're like, why? And it's because you're going to cut off our water supply if you do that, which isn't really true. No. It's not actually the case. Their water supply is just fine. Though, really what needs to happen is that they need to actually do some terraforming in that area. They need to get some more of their green back so they can get some more of their water retention. But that's more like horticultural or science stuff. I'm not going to get into that. But, yeah, no, they might dead ass go to war over the fucking Nile. And those are two. That's like number one. That's like the strongest army against the third strongest army in Africa right there. Ethiopia being number 3, and then Egypt being number 1, South Africa probably being 2. So that's That's gonna be a crazy fucking war. That's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
I don't know
gnarly.
who's. It's back and forth too, because the thing is this. So like Ethiopia has more troops, and they have more tank divisions in certain divisions, and I think they had more of something else. I think they had more ships. I think they had a bigger navy too. But the main battle tanks,
Hmm.
Egypt has more main battle tanks. They have a better air force, and that's really why they'll probably win is their air force. If Ethiopia
Hmm.
gets a better air force, they probably could win and beat Egypt, which would be kind of lit. Because then
That'd be
I'd be
kind of
like,
gnarly.
bro, because that's who actually started building the pyramids. So like, so they traveled. So there's actually smaller pyramids in Ethiopia, and as you go up the Nile, they get bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to Egypt, where the biggest ones are, like
Hmm.
Cairo and all those areas. And so for years, they were actually debating on who built the pyramids. Were they Black Africans or were they Arabic-leaning Africans who did it? Like North Africans is what they normally
Hmm.
call them. And so there was like a big debate, like seriously, like so the top Egyptologists in Egypt actually got so mad and so heated during one debate, he called black pharaohs the N word. So I swear to God, he's like they're
That's
not
so
fucking
gnarly.
niggers. Yeah, he's like they're not fucking niggers. I swear they're black, but they're not niggers. And so it doesn't make any sense because first of all, the N word means black in Latin. That's where it comes from. That's a derivative of it. Is like Negro is black in Spanish. So and
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
when they entered, like when they started like trading with North Africa, like the Greeks and the Roman Empire, like those people traded with Egypt. Those were the other empires were around when Egypt was still kind of a big deal. Was really the Greeks. After the Greeks, once it becomes the Romans are really the big deal. The Egyptians have definitely fallen off a lot, and there's not really like pharaohs. So I think it's the 28th or the 18th, something like that. I don't remember, but it's either 28th or 18th dynasty, which means like the 28th or the 18th person as pharaoh. He dies off, and they try to go down to Nubia to get a new pharaoh, and then I don't know what ends up happening to them. They don't really know what ends up happening to those people after the 28th dynasty. I think it is that they kind of like disappear the pharaohs, and then that's when you kind of have like more Arabic leaning pharaohs kind of take over Egypt. That's when like
Hmm.
like Cleopatra and all them start popping up. So like Cleopatra is not really even black. That's why it's kind of funny.
No,
A lot of
yeah.
people think she's actually more Mediterranean, I think it was, or something like that. She's
Hmm.
like Greek. She's Greek and Mediterranean, or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Mesopotamian. That's what she is. She's like Mesopotamian and Greek.
Okay.
And that's because the Greeks at the time were in control of Egypt because the pharaohs had left at that
Yeah.
point for some reason, water reasons, a whole bunch of different shit. But it was fucking crazy to think like just like to see how much like for instance like Egypt had influenced societies. So for instance, there's like an obelisk, which is like the big giant like you ever seen the Washington Monument in
Yeah.
DC? So you know it's like that big
Hmm.
pointy thing. That's an obelisk. They used to build those in Egypt. That's what would have like the like the hieroglyphs on them. And so yeah, dude, it's just fucking weird like how much like Egypt has like influenced society if you actually go into it. Like for instance, like most of like ancient medicine came from Egypt. Most of like Greek mythology came from Egypt. Like the Matterhorn and like the labyrinth
Hmm.
that came from Egypt. There actually is like a labyrinth where they said there was a Matterhorn in there in Egypt. The Matterhorn's
The
not obviously
Minotaur, you
real.
mean?
The Minotaur, Matterhorn, something like that. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm not that good. I'm more better on Egypt than I am
No,
on
you're
Greek.
good.
But yeah, a lot of the mythology that came from Greece actually originated in Africa first. It was like they were kind of retelling
Really?
stories as time. Yeah. So like Zeus, and like all the Greek gods are actually just reinterpreted gods of Egypt, and that's like not me making this shit up. Like you can generally look that up, and they'll tell you that yeah, the Greeks got their gods from the Egyptians. And then so for instance, like the very first depiction of Zeus, I told JT this shit.
Hmm.
The very first depiction of Zeus, dude, he's black. I swear to God. And that's because if you go far enough back actually, racism isn't a real thing. That's not like racism is more of a modern thing. It's a more part of our modern society than it was ancient societies. Ancient societies are actually
Hmm.
known for trading and conversing with like North Africa, where it's like Egypt, Libya, then you have like Algeria, but they're not as big of a deal. And then you have Morocco, which is pretty big deal because that's kind of where like the Moors came from, and the Moors invaded Spain. And so
Got you.
and so like it's kind of cool. It's just kind of weird because like for instance like they're like black Roman emperors, like and like important ones too. Not like it's like nobodies who just took over or like nobodies who were like in
Yeah.
the beginning of it. There's this dude
Mhm.
named I think his name was Emperor Septimius Stepis or something like that. So he's a pretty big deal too because London actually got invaded by the Nords, the Vikings, and the Romans,
Mhm.
who were in control of England and control of that whole area at the time, came and fought them off. And that was like that's a real and that's where like the structure of England, like the whole city, the reason why it's built the way it's built is because of the Roman Empire and because of this
Mhm.
particular black Roman emperor, which is kind of crazy, right? And so like
Yeah.
and they just figured that out that he was black. This is not something that we've known and not really like talked about or something. It's actually so the like if you go to like statues of this dude, they made statues of him and they made him look white because actually around the Roman Empire is when they started to kind of get more racist and start to kind of like kick out like Africans who were mostly from North Africa, which is seen as kind of like the
Mhm.
like have you ever heard of like the racist term of sub-Saharan Africans, like to call somebody a
Yeah.
sub-Saharan. So that starts because Saharan Africans, who are mostly Egyptian or looked at as Egyptians, are seen as either very intelligent or were seen as very intelligent back in the day because of the pyramids. And
Mhm.
that's really and which is funny is because they didn't even build those pyramids, which is like at the time we're talking about like Greek and Romans, they didn't build the pyramids around those times. They built the pyramids thousands and thousands of years before that. So the people you're talking to mostly for the most part, like with the Greeks and Romans who are like at this point much lighter Africans, they've been, like trading and like kind of like interbreeding with like not interbreeding, but like having sex with like other races at this point. They are not very black. They look
Mhm.
more like me than they do look like an African black person at this point in North Africa. And so over time, you kind of get like what's known as like whitewashing of black history. So they whitewashed this Roman emperor who was black and had done a lot for the Roman Empire and made him look white. So people would think white people had done everything throughout history and black people had done nothing. When that's not really the case. In the beginning of history, it was really a lot of black people and other races working together to progress time. And then eventually they started to exclude people from North Africa, which is the people who they were trading with. They started to exclude them, and it became more of like a
Mhm.
Middle Eastern European thing and then just a European thing. Because obviously, eventually, with colonialism, they invade Africa, they invade the Middle East, they invade most of Asia and South America, the European powers. And,
Got you.
slavery and all that then takes place. But obviously, the Roman Empire, or well, not the Roman Empire, the Egyptian Empire is long gone by them. Long fucking gone. And they're definitely not black in Egypt anymore at that point either. They're basically mostly like Arabs.
Got you.
But that's about it. I was telling JT about that shit the other day. He was like, man, that's crazy. Like I'll send you, I think I sent you the video, but it was a long time ago. This is maybe 3-4 months ago now.
Oh,
And
really?
we, maybe not 3-4, but maybe at least 2 months ago, like the beginning of February, late January, or beginning of January, something. When did we start the stream? Something. I started my stream, I think, in January. I don't remember.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so whatever. I saw the video. I think I sent it to some people. I don't know if I sent it to everybody, but yeah, it was pretty cool. There's a whole bunch of shit. Like, for instance, like, do they think that like you ever seen like the ancient Egyptian shit on Joe Rogan,
Yeah,
where they talk
I'm
about
pretty
like how
sure.
they don't know how they built the pyramids. They still don't know how they really did that back then. They're like, how the fuck did they
Yeah,
lift
yeah.
these?
Like, how the fuck would they? Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
this
did see
two
that.
ton. That's like 4,000 pounds of stone. They're like, how the fuck did you lift that back then? Even with slave power, at these angles, it's impossible without power tools. How did they do this shit? Yeah. And so,
No,
like,
literally.
my two theories are either these motherfuckers are bigger than we realize, and that's like not like giants, but like like supposedly they have
Yeah, yeah.
skeletons
Just like
like Ethiopians that are like 10 feet tall or some nutty shit like that. And so
Jesus,
either
that's
and
nutty as
and
hell.
so you know that like the reason why dinosaurs got so big was because there was an excess amount of carbon in the air during their
Hmm.
like greenhouse gases and things like that. So it made things
Yeah.
grow to dynamic. And so I think something along the lines is that we're still kind of dealing with that like type of like greenhouse gas effect. And so maybe these people are bigger than what we realize. It could be that, or two, they're more technologically advanced than we realize. So it's either one of the or. Either they're bigger than we realize and they
Mhm.
can lift stuff like that at that angle, or they do have some type of technology that we don't recognize. So if you go back to like the Roman Empire, dude, they had like running water on boats, hot and cold running water
Oh,
on boats. Um, they had like what else, like some shit that, oh, they had this type of concrete. So the thing they built the Colosseum out of, that's, you know, falling apart now thousands and thousands of years later here, but at the time they built it, it was called super concrete. The shit was like basically impenetrable, like you could not destroy it, like with anything at this
Mhm.
time. And that's why the Colosseum stood through multiple invasions of Italy, and you know, the Mongols, all the Huns, all types of fucking different empires invaded Italy, where the Roman Empire obviously took place. Based the heart of the Roman Empire took place. Hundreds of people
Mhm.
invaded Italy. That shit never got destroyed. Still standing today. They don't know how to make that concrete. That's a lost technology, right? And so there's a lot of things like
Mhm.
that we don't know how to do, but ancient civilizations did know how to do. And so I think it's something kind of along the lines of that, like something that they just figured out that we can't figure quite out yet, either because we're not looking in the right places, is or whatever it may be. So like for instance, like they say a lot of it is like they use sound, like sound to cut things and carve things and move things. And so for instance, like you can make water move with sound at a certain frequency. So if you play like a bass drum at a certain frequency, it's gonna
Mhm.
make the water like kind of like a zigzag. You ever seen that? Like that video of that where the
Yeah,
water's
yeah.
doing like kind of, so that's a sound frequency. So they think that that has something to do with them building the pyramids, is that they're using like a frequency of some sort,
Really?
or yeah, like something like that to make
That's
things
gnarly.
move, which is kind of cool. Or it could be aliens. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
And that leads me into my next thing, right? You ever see the ancient? You ever seen the Ancient Aliens on History Channel, bro?
Yeah. The
So
old
all right,
ass
so they
show.
got this. Yeah, it was still new. They still come out with a lot of new shit. Sometimes it's actually kind of trippy to watch if you're high and you're sitting there chilling. They'll fucking make you think, for real. So for instance, bro, like so I was so like there's like this video. If you look up like hieroglyphs, spaceship in the pyramid, look that shit up. There's a hieroglyph, and it does kind of look like one of their ships. They say it's like a boat, and it does kind of look like one of their boats, but it also kind of looks like a spaceship. And there's a couple of them that look like a spaceship. There's like two or three of them I think that look like spaceships in the fucking pyramid. Dude, it's crazy looking. It's like it kind of makes you think like, well, what if aliens did come visit them, and like, but there's no reason for them to build the pyramids. Like that theory doesn't still make any sense either, really, because it's like, well, why did the aliens make humans build pyramids for them? And it's like to worship
Yeah.
the aliens. But it's like, well, why would the aliens give a fuck about the stupid ass pyramid, like, and to worship them? And none of the other pyramids that they reference, the Mayans kind of have pyramids, and other African cultures are more similar to each other. And like Asian cultures have kind of pyramids. They don't ever look like pyramids. Most of the time, they're like big giant stairways and like kind
Mhm.
of just big bricks stacked on each other. So it's kind of like a pyramid, but not quite like a pyramid. But they're supposed to be like structures that ancient civilizations could not build because they couldn't build them. Like it's like, you know, when they're colonizing South America, they're like, how the fuck are they building these temples? Like it doesn't. We can't even do this shit right now. How the fuck are they doing? How do they do this shit? And these dumb
Yeah.
don't even know. No, really, because they're not around. They're not the ones who were around when they built this shit. So nobody knows how they built
Mhm.
any of these fucking Stonehenge. You know, like Stonehenge. You know, like the Easter Island heads. You know, those like heads that are on
Yeah.
Easter Island. You know, those things are
No,
giant. You know,
yeah.
they'll go like super far down into the earth.
No, literally.
Yeah, those
Wait,
like
really?
giants. Yeah, those are like giant statues. Those aren't heads. Those are
Those are just the
statues of
heads?
people.
Those are just the. Oh,
Those are
what?
just the heads that haven't been that got covered, dude. Think of that fucking nutty shit. That's just dirt. That's just dirt that covered them up, bro. That shit's
Yeah, what?
crazy. Those things are huge.
Goddamn.
They're like,
No, they're
yeah,
they're
they're
fucking
huge.
massive.
Yeah, so they're like, how the fuck did these ancient civilizations do this shit? We don't know how to do this. And so the real leading theory is that yeah, they had technology that we don't know about, and at I think it was like 14,000 years ago, the Earth got like pelleted by like asteroids, just got lit the fuck up by asteroids. And so they
Mhm.
think that's what really caused it. So they think that's when they built the pyramids, was around 14,000 years ago. And around that time, after they finished them, sometime around after they finished them, the asteroids start pelting the Earth because they can tell by the sediment and shit. And so it's like they're thinking that they died off because of this shit. And so the The real powerful civilizations mostly died off. The people who survived weren't that powerful, don't really know how to build this shit, and that's why nobody really understands anymore how we built them. Is that because the real civilizations who were living around that time died off, and it was like, I don't know, subspecies, maybe like Neanderthals. That's how they did it. They don't really know. They really don't know. It's like a big mystery. That's why I'm like kind of like going from theory to theory, because it's like I'm trying to give everybody their light and trying to show off like every aspect of like how it could have been built or like
Yeah.
what could have. But it's just weird to me. Like, yeah, it's just like we have technology that's missing from the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire is not even that long ago. That was like 4 or 5,000 years ago, or something close to that, maybe like 6,000 years ago. So they're not that long ago, and there's stuff that we don't understand how they built it. Like, how did you build that back then? Like, we can kind of do that now with our technology, with power tools and cranes and fucking concrete makers and things like that. But it's like, how are you building these methalithic structures, these giant structures, with fucking stone tools and shit? That doesn't make any fucking sense. This is,
No,
we don't even have iron. These people don't even have iron. How are they building this type of stuff? Right?
yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, I don't. They must have something. They got something. So it makes you think for sure. Like, how long has? That's really the thing. Is it makes you like, how long have humans been running around the Earth, and like how many times have they just got like blown up by some like fucking asteroid or comet or something? They just had to start everything over.
Yeah, for
Like,
real.
because like like a few years ago, like that big ass there's like that meteor that hit Russia out in the middle of nowhere. You remember they had that video,
Yeah.
like the fucking meteor. Dude, if that shit hit a city, it would fucking light it the fuck up. It would kill everything in Los Angeles. If that hit Los Angeles
No,
dead
literally.
smack in the middle. So, but that hit in the middle of like the ocean or like deep into the fucking Siberia and shit, and just blew up. And that happened before too. That happened like in the 1920s. They went out, like there was like a big explosion or some shit, and they went out into Siberia to look for it, and it just like trees for hundreds and hundreds of miles just decimated. They're like, dude, if this shit would have hit Moscow or hit London or something like that, we would have been wiped out. Like that would have just killed everybody in the town, for hundreds of miles. But it just hit the woods. It just thankfully hit the woods and didn't do shit to anybody. Like it wouldn't completely wipe out civilization. Like France would be all right if it hit England or something like that. But like,
No,
it's
yeah.
just scary because like there's a fucking asteroid that's coming in 2019 or not 2019, 2029. It's hard to say that shit. It's kind of weird. So in 2029, there's an asteroid coming that might hit the Earth. It's going to travel so close that it's going to be visible. Like you can stand outside and you're going to watch this shit pass by us. And they're like, but it has a chance of also hitting us, but a very slim chance of hitting us. But they're like, the scientists are like, dude, we want it to travel by so we can observe it and study it. And I'm like, will you blow this fucking thing up if it's going to actually almost hit us, dude? Like, they're like, I feel like everybody's going to start scrambling to get to space and like try to survive that shit by 2029. I don't know if we'll be able. It's like 3 years, 6 years away now. I don't know how technologically advanced we'll be in 6 years, but I don't know. People are taking space trips to space now, so maybe in 6 years they might be able to get like a colony on the moon going in time. I don't know. I'm gonna try to be on that. I can be the indoor grower. I can be the indoor grower, son. We don't even need to grow weed. I'll grow your vegetables. We can grow the vegetables indoor. All we need is some grow lights. I think I got a ticket to space. I think I can get a ticket into space. That'd be all right. Well, yeah, I think they do. If I send them like, dog, I'm like a decent horticulturalist. I can definitely grow plants indoors. I can definitely I'll even grow your weed if you want me to. No, I'm just kidding. They're probably not gonna want people smoking weed in space, but I'm definitely gonna take plants up there. I don't care. I saved them, man. I kept the can.
Or at least seeds, the last seeds.
Yeah, take a clone or some stupid shit. Yeah, like
The last seed
seeds
from
are.
Earth.
Dude, this is Girl Scout cookie. You want this gone?
Yeah, literally.
Do you think no? But seriously though, like if a big enough asteroid hit the Earth, that's all the vegetation's gone. Every house, everything, all wildlife dead. Anything that's gonna survive is probably gonna be from the sea, and that's gonna have to like evolve out of the sea into something else. Right? It won't be a human, but like maybe dolphins will get legs and start fucking walking and talking or some shit, or fucking killer whales or something like that. They're supposed to say like killer whales and dolphins are like the closest thing to us when it comes to intelligence out here, like on Earth. I mean, they do like. Have you ever heard like dolphins and like killer whales talk to each other? or not too. Well, they actually
Yeah.
can't talk. They can talk to each other too. Like dolphins and whales and killer whales, which are all different types of breeds, but they're all mammals, can technically like communicate with each other somehow in the water. I don't know how, but they have like their own like underwater language almost, and they're still trying to like figure it out. Like the fucking orca sounds and shit like that. Like when they do the like the fucking killer,
The
fucking
echolocation.
the echolocation. Exactly. Yeah, that's like, hey, stop barking. That's exactly what they're doing. They're like talking to each other, like bouncing like fucking things off the ocean floor, and it's smacking them back, and that vibration helps them like figure out what they're saying somehow. Hey, big boy, go sit down. I gotta feed him or something. This dude's acting like a fucking nut. Oh my god, dude, what's wrong with this mutt? I just cleaned up the entire side too, so you can go back into the dog run and not like be in the rest of the yard. So like the outdoor grow can go well without the dogs tearing shit up or doing something nutty to the plants. And then like the yard smells a little bit nicer because they're not like pooping all around the fucking yard like some mutts, nutty dogs. They don't actually poop all around the yard. They actually just poop near the pool, which that makes like you not want to go in the pool because they poop by the fake grass over by the pool.
Yeah. And you can just smell
What's
it.
up? Yeah, you can clean. I've cleaned it up and now it doesn't smell. Like you just rinse it down and it won't smell. But it's like fuck. But yesterday I poured a bunch of fucking bleach and like floor cleaner and shit and some like disinfectant. And I'd use this fucking OxyClean powder, just to make sure like it would smell nice. And like I was walking outside yesterday and you get like a big whiff of like floor cleaner. You'd be like, that's nice. Especially like out in your backyard, you're like, oh, that's nice. The backyard smells nice. I might start putting like air purifying plants back here to kind of like help with the air quality in my
Really?
backyard.
Does it exist?
Yeah, technically all plants do that, but there's some that do it better
Oh,
than
yeah.
others.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so there are like a lot of your like indoor plants, like the like fucking like ficuses and like cactuses and weird shit like that you put in like your house and stuff. They're air
Okay.
purifying, and so that's why like if you ever walk in somebody's room and like they have like plants growing or something like that, or walk in somebody's house and they got like a lot of indoor plants, it smells like super fresh and like fucking like just weird, like it just smells like fresh air. Like I don't know how to really describe it, but like it just smells like natural, like how
It
air
just smells
should
like
be. Like
different,
yeah, like no pollution,
like
no
clear,
fucking
yeah.
yeah, it's just super clear. Like also like if you ever like I'm sure like the difference between when you left California and first smelled Arizona air, like as you got out of the car, you were probably like, whoa, that's a lot different.
No, yeah.
Because I did that shit when I went to fucking Minnesota, dude. I left from
Especially going
California,
from like city to like up here in the mountains where there's just trees everywhere and shit.
right? Yeah, dude, that shit's crazy. I fucking yeah, when I went out to Minnesota for college, I was like, holy shit, like you can totally it is a lot fresher out here than it is anywhere else. You know?
Yeah, no, for real.
It's kind of crazy. You know, it definitely makes you think like we should definitely do some more shit about like this air quality, but like who knows? Fossil fuels are definitely still dominating the industry. I mean, we could definitely switch to green energy. The real reason why they don't want to is because essentially green energy is free. Solar, that's just energy from the sun that powers your house. So your electricity bill is going to be zero if we go to green energy. If we stop using like fossil fuels and things like that to heat our house and we start using green energies and things like that, your gas bill is going to be zero. There won't be gas anymore. Or the water
Yeah.
bill is going to go down to zero because we'll start like desalinating water. We'll use that to water our yards, and fresh water will only be for drinking or some shit like that, right? And so like
Yeah,
eventually
exactly.
you'll have like no utilities, and so like there's companies who make money from that shit, and they're like Edison and all those like they've been around for since the inception of America. They've been around, Edison and them. So
Yeah.
to get rid of like a staple of American history in Edison, California Edison or any of the Edisons all around the country is like one, it's kind of shocking, but two, really they have a lot of money and power in influence in the government. So they're that's why really you haven't seen like a Green New Deal, right? That's why you like even if I say Green
Yeah.
New Deal, some people will be like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Are you some hippie liberal?" And you're like, it's fucking green energy. What are you talking about? It's like windmills and fucking solar panels. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how is that like, but some people genuinely do not like the name Green New Deal. It's mostly because AOC started it. That's her bill. But really, they just don't like green energy. They've never liked solar panels. It's because they have like a lot of stocks in like oil and shit like that. And if that all disappears, there's not really money to be made off of solar panels once everybody has solar panels. You know what I'm saying? Like eventually, like the closer we get to like kind of like Green New Deal and things like that, the less money there is to be kind of like made off of people. Like that's how people really get rich, is they make money off of other people, right? Like, you know, like get rich quick schemes like that, like dirty ones, because like, you know, like genuine get rich schemes are all over the place. You know, for instance, like, you know, why do rich people always go broke, but like bounce back? None of them ever go broke and stay broke. They go broke and within a year they're back to being rich again. It's because one, they have like a system that helps you, right? Like if you're really, really rich in this country, you can get welfare too if you go broke. Like if your company goes upside down, there's corporate welfare for that reason. Like there's corporate welfare for that reason, right? I don't like corporate welfare personally. Like if I'm a small business and I go upside down, they don't help you, but they'll help big corporations though, because they think, well, if a big corporation, like if McDonald's goes out of business, who's going to take their place? Doesn't matter who's going to take their place. They couldn't fill that place themselves. If you go out of business, you shouldn't be around. That's really like, that's real capitalism. But to be honest with you, when you get down to it, the people who really support that are like some of the most liberal people in the world. Like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders fucking hates bailing out corporations. It's like the number one thing he rails against. And you would think, oh, he's like a socialist. He loves, you know, he would love giving money away to anybody. He'd probably give money away to the rich too if he could. No, he doesn't. He fucking hates rich people. It's simple as that. Bernie himself is fucking rich. Think about it. Bernie himself is a millionaire. He wasn't up until recently, until he ran for president. Once he ran for president, he became a millionaire. But that's how most people become millionaires when they're a politician. They don't become a millionaire until they're a major politician in like a major role, like a Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. She was Speaker of the House. Everybody hates her, but it makes her millions of dollars because of that, right? And she still gets reelected off of that hate. Right? And the same thing goes for like on the opposite side, Mitch McConnell. Everybody hates Mitch McConnell from the Democratic side, but Republicans vote for him because it pisses off Democrats kind of somewhat, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And so both sides are guilty of doing it. That's why I gave both examples. But like, you know, the only people who prosper from that are the rich. That's why it's stupid to vote that fucking way. That's why I don't vote that way. Actually, I didn't even vote in the last presidential election because the options were so shitty. It was Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I was like, fuck out of here. I'm not voting for any of these.
Dude, I wrote in Kanye.
That's funny, dude. I didn't show up. Or no, that's not true. I just left that shit blank. I showed up and voted down ballot, I think I just voted like all the fucking the Congress and Senate and governor and all that shit. I was like, I'll vote for them, but I'm not voting for the president. I'm not gonna vote president.
I remember I voted. I did vote. I did go and vote because there was something about in Ventura County allowing commercial weed growth or something. I remember. Yeah. Exactly.
That might have been why I did it too. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it was 20. Yeah.
So, but fuck yeah, I was like, nah, I'm good. I voted for Bernie in the primary, son. I'm chilling, son. I'm chilling. I didn't even need the money. It's not like I'm broke. I just know the system would work better if we had a Bernie and Kyle.
Yeah.
It's like people who aren't at the top would be able to move their way up, and people who stay at the top because of fucking they've always been up there. Like, you know, for instance, like you know, Donald Trump goes bankrupt like every 5 fucking seconds, like he used to, and his friends bail him out a lot of times. His friends give him some money, he invests it, he makes it back, gives them their money back, right? Or the government gives them their money and then they invest it, make it back, you know, like corporate welfare, like I said earlier, right? All right, well, like if I went fucking broke, nobody has money to bail my ass out, and the government's for sure not going to. Yeah, the government's for sure as hell not going to do that shit either. And so if you're just a regular citizen, you're fucked. But if you were rich and powerful 100%. And you had that influence and you went broke, everybady's going to try to save you because, I got to think of like a really good company. Oh, the banks in 2008 when the economy crashed in 2008. They bailed out all the major banks. The major banks were the reason the economy crashed in the first place. They were handing out faulty loans to people who couldn't afford houses. And making 100%. It seem like they could, and then selling those loans to other people so that when they defaulted, it didn't make the banks look bad. All that shit used to be illegal, but because of money in politics, it became legal. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I vote the way I kind of vote. Because that's corruption. That's just pure fucking corruption. To sell a house to somebody you know can't afford it, that's just fucked their whole life. That's fucked up.
Scheming.
You know? Yeah, what if they could afford a cheaper house, but because you wanted to make the big sale, you wanted them to buy $1 million house. You sell them that. It's just shitty. It's shitty and fucked up, and I don't like it. So that's really why I vote like liberal, and that's why I'm kind of more Democrat, and not just a Democrat. You have to be like a liberal Democrat. You know, like Nancy Pelosi is that. She's not really somebody who represents. We don't have the same values. Like she made money off of the stock market doing insider trading. I think insider trading should be illegal. Like insider trading meaning that like you know what's going to happen on the stock. You have some intel on the stock, and that's illegal. That if anybody else did
No,
that,
yeah.
the politician, it'd be illegal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's shit like that where it's like, God damn, and that's a Democrat. I just sold a Democrat straight under the bus. I don't give a fuck. That's the real people. That's and like that's how I feel about that shit. If you're acting the fool and you're corrupt and you're a piece of shit, you should not be in the Congress. Simple as that. You shouldn't be a senator. You should not be a governor. You shouldn't be a president. You shouldn't be a state assembly member, and you shouldn't be in the state house of representatives in your state. Hey, because that shit's bullshit. You're just fucking yourself and your people over. We would be a lot better off if we actually had some people in power that actually cared about us and wanted us to do well in life. You know, like you would think that's what a politician's job is. You know, it's like, oh, look how well my district is doing, and for sure they definitely
it is, but people corruption just gets hit with it. You know what I mean? Like they just get what's the word?
They get away with it.
They get away with it because they get bribed. You know what I mean? They get tempted into moving away from being so good and wanting to help people. They get so they can stay in power.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, like for instance, like money in politics used to be illegal. You couldn't do that. You couldn't like donate to a politician's campaign because they saw it as a bribe. But as soon as this changed around the Reagan administration, and so the Reagan administration thought, well, who gives a shit if they give them money? That's not that big of a deal. They're just donating to their campaign. They want them to win. But the founding fathers saw as any money donation is going to start to influence my opinion on you. If you start giving me millions of dollars, then you could just come to my office at any day and just say, hey, I need a favor from you. And I'm going to probably do it. You know what I'm saying? We lost Connor. Let's see if he comes back. Here he is. He's back. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Sorry about that.
Oh, good. No worries. And I was just saying, like, yeah, they changed like how the founding fathers thought. So the founding fathers thought any type of money donation is going to start to change my opinion. And especially after you start giving me a lot of money and I start winning my campaigns because of that money, I'm going to feel entitled as a human to do something for you. It's just how humans feel. Like, you've helped me win. I want to do something now for you. And so that's what happened. That's literally what ended up happening is now people and both sides are accused. I'm not just because I said this happened under the Reagan administration. That's just who changed the law. Both sides take money from both sides. Obama's, for instance, like Obama, I'll bring him up. He took money from Wall Street, who had just crashed the economy in 2008. He becomes president after that. And a lot of people are looking at him to do some type of economic relief for the country because of this crash. And it never really ends up coming because of the people who donated to his campaign. That's why a lot of people don't like him. That's probably one of my biggest beefs with him, actually, is if actually somebody starts talking real shit about Obama. Like, well, he's just kind of corrupt when it comes to banks and like Wall Street and stuff like that. He was kind of like their lackey. I always agree with him. Like, yeah, that's actually that's my biggest beef with Obama. And it's the truth. That is definitely the truth. And there's stuff that Obama did do that are good. And I've never shied away from debating somebody on Obama ever. You know, if I have to defend him, I'm gonna do it. But like, I don't defend him just to defend him. I do it just to kind of piss people off, mostly for like, just because I know a decent amount about his presidency.
No,
so
yeah,
like, so you remember when the fucking kid was like, when we were in the car together, he's oh man, he was talking. The reason why I did that was because he was talking crap about Kamala, and like I was like, I'm not a Kamala.
I don't even remember who that was, bro.
Is the kid? He's a white dude. We hung out in his garage. He had like a Trump. He's a Trump supporter, so I kind of figured it was coming. Kyle, something like I didn't know. So dude, it was just so funny to me because I set him up for it too. So he goes and he starts talking kind of crap about Kamala.
That all went bad so quick too. I just like saw it coming and I was like, oh, I knew this.
I know he was pissed. He says something about Kamala. Then he goes and says, oh, but whatever, blah, blah, blah. Starts talking about his job and stuff. He's like, I got a good job, so I guess I can't be too mad. And now I have healthcare insurance, so that's cool too. And I was like, oh, is your healthcare insurance provider through your job? And he goes, yeah, it's like job healthcare insurance. I was like, oh, you know who you got that from, right? And he goes, who? And I said, Obama. And he goes, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, that's Obama. That's Obamacare. That Obamacare, the law.
No, I remember this shit, bro.
That shit was fucking funny, dude. Oh my god.
I remember that shit for sure, bro.
He was pissed. He was angry, dude. He looked at me, he wanted to kill me. He was mad at that one. I was
Literally,
like, look, I don't know
literally,
what to tell you,
bro.
dog. You got that healthcare insurance
I
because
don't
of
remember who
Obama,
else was
son.
with us. There was a fourth
JT.
one. There was a fourth person in the car too. I forget.
It was
Okay, what's
JT. It
JT?
was
Okay,
me, you,
no,
JT,
literally.
and Kyle. JT was like, even like, nah, that is true. JT was like, that is true. That is part of Obamacare. That is true. Trey is not lying right now. I was like, hey, look, that's why it's funny. That's the only because like when people get really 1 second, let me tell my mom something. You can make it, just don't melt them, and then I'll come out because I'm still on the stream. Thank you. I'm back. Yeah, dude. But it was just fucking. I was like, oh my god. That's like a what's it called? When Mitt Romney was talking, Mitt Romney debated Obama, and he goes and says, "Our military is weaker now than it's ever been since the 18 something, like the 1800s." And he's like, Obama goes 1800. He goes, "Yeah, we also have less bayonets and horses in our army now too, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
That shit was fucking funny, dude. Like some of Obama's, that's actually Obama's best shit. Is him talking shit. Is like one of the
Nah,
funniest things. Like,
his little jabs, bro. Nah, he would always get those in, little daggers for sure.
remember when he was
Are you
doing the
finna
state?
watch the All
Go
Star
ahead.
game?
I'll
Are you
probably
finna
watch it.
watch the
I
All
watched
Star
it.
game?
I watched a dunk contest last night. That shit was hard.
Dude, that shit, yeah.
I might. I'm gonna stay. We're only on an hour. I might give it another 30 minutes. If you jump off, you can. I might give it another 30 minutes just so I can hit the 2 hour mark for sure, or
Okay, yeah,
hit
for
the hour
sure.
and 30. But
I'm probably
yeah, dude.
finna
Yeah.
jump off, but
Okay.
I'll catch you, bro. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you around.
Yes, sir. Catch you later, man.
Later, man. Alrighty. So I guess we can kind of get into like the normal format of how I do my stream, where we talk about like what I got going on and things like that. So, for instance, like we just ordered some more fertilizer. Was that Friday night, something like that? We got 50 pounds of alfalfa meal, 50 pounds of flaxseed meal, and 15 more pounds of gypsum. So that'll be on the way Monday. They'll probably start picking it Monday, ship it Wednesday. It'll get here next Wednesday probably. So not this coming Wednesday because today's Sunday. It'll ship this coming Wednesday. So probably we'll get it in about 2 weeks or a little bit under 2 weeks from today. So not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday we probably will get it. So like a week and 3 days. So it's not too bad. It's like 10 days. 10 days ain't too bad. And we should be getting the other fertilizer batch that we ordered in soon too. So we ordered 15 pounds of shrimp shell meal, 15 pounds of soybean meal. That's going to be our nitrogen, our phosphorus, and it's going to give us 2% potassium from the soybean meal. Then we got 22 pounds of glacial rock dust, and then we got what was it? And then we got 15 pounds of gypsum. So the gypsum is actually going to be it's high in calcium, it's high in sulfur, and so the calcium is what helps loosen up clay soil, and also nitrogen can help loosen up clayey soil. So for instance, like if you're trying to attract a lot of like earthworms and things like that to your bed, which are going to be beneficial in an organic setup, even if you're growing it synthetically during the winter, I would always talk about amending your outdoor beds wherever you do grow, because you can grow outdoors synthetically. You can do it, and you'll probably get bigger plants than an organic grower because it's synthetic nutrients. It's supposed to be kind of an unnatural growth format. This is like technically type like almost like a steroid, and you can get steroids for plants too if you wanted to. And so, they're going to get bigger. They're going to probably have a bigger yield. You're going to lack in quality and in taste, unfortunately. But you can up your quality and taste if you build your raised bed. Like if you build up your raised bed during the winter, and you do a lot of amending during the winter time, what will end up happening is that you'll end up getting a better taste, you get a better smell, and you'll probably get a higher trichome production out of that organic material than you would even out of a synthetic material. So, for instance, like um, um, what end up happening is if you loosen your soil up, which is always recommended during the winter, or and if you understand anything about root growth, if you're using a soil medium, you're going to need loose soil if you want to have a good root growth. If you have hard, clayey, compacted soil, even if it's not hard and clayey, it might still be soil that tends to compact. So, for instance, like Kellogg's raised bed mix, I already know it has a tendency to compact, especially in pots. In a raised bed setup, I've never done it in a raised bed setup, so I don't know. But raised beds are basically technically just bigger pots. So you can think of them in basically the same way. Hey, and there's no difference. Um, so um, I use mostly that. I use like 12 cubic feet of that, 9 cubic feet of the Happy Frog soil conditioner, and then the rest, and then 3 cubic feet of peat moss. The rest is just amended native soil that we've composted in, grown in, and just kind of been building up over a couple of years. So the native soil is pretty good. It's definitely packed with a lot of nutrients, but it's still clay. It definitely needs to be loosened up before you can grow in it at a commercial level. It's definitely was not when we first originally made the bed, when we just filled it in with the soil and mixed up all the soil together so that it actually mixed in well and there weren't like clumps of different types of soil and compost and peat moss all in different areas. It was all mixed well together. Once we've done that, then we started to amend based off of the fact that we have compaction and the fact that our soil we already know is lacking nutrients. It's not that high in nutrients, and it's just not that good. So to make the soil better, to get it to have more nutrients, to get it to produce better and have better quality fruiting, right, or better quality cannabis, you're going to want it to amend before you even get out the plant, right? Some people would think, okay, so then I just need to fertilize my plants when I put them in the ground. The work starts before you put your plants in the ground. So if you put your plants in the ground and the soil is still loose and clay, there's no, or very, not loose and clay, very hard and clay and compacted, there is no way you're going to get good production out of your plants, no matter what you do. Even if you're top dressing like crazy, there's no way all that's going to actually get down to the root zone for it to actually be uptake. Like you actually want like a good amount of nutrients mixed into your soil, not just top dressing, because top dressing only really gets nutrients into the soil after you water it. So that's when like it kind of leaks the nutrients kind of leach down as you water. Top dressing only does a little bit of fertilizing. Unfortunately, most of it sits there on the topsoil after a while, and it takes a long time for it actually to break down completely and be available for the roots. So if you are working in an organic setup, a lot of it starts when you mix your soil up. When you go to buy your soil and you buy all your nutrients, you buy all your fertilizers and stuff like that, uh, you're going to want to understand that all of that is probably going to want to get mixed into whatever soil medium you're growing, right? Because, for instance, anything that you could go buy relatively easily at the store is probably not going to be that good. Anything that you buy online is probably going to be a lot better, but not anywhere near as good as stuff that you can make in your own home, in your backyard. You can make better soil than anybody else can because you know what's going to work for you and what you want out of it, right? This is mostly if you're buying soil, it's going to be the same base nutrients. It's going to be like some worm castings, things. If you get a real high quality soil, you might get some bat guano in it. You might get fish bone meal that'll give you your calcium, right? And then that's basically it. So the bat guano is going to give you your nitrogen. The worm casting is going to give you your potassium and nitrogen right there. And the phosphorus is going to come from the bone, the fish bone meal, and the calcium is going to come from that. And that's basically all that's in there. Yeah, that's it. So that's not enough to really get your plants to smell, taste, and grow the way you want them to, right? So for instance, like that's why indoor growing is really hard when it comes to or an organic setup. It's not easy, right? Because you're gonna have to throw a lot of fucking nutrients in those pots to get them to grow like an outdoor plant would, right? Because that's really what we're trying to mimic indoors. Is why most cannabis people grow indoors nowadays was because of when it was legal, right? People were growing out in the woods and not really getting caught. It wasn't until people started catching on that people were going out, going on these hikes and stuff like that, and growing giant cannabis plants. It was called guerrilla grows, right? And this is something that like a lot of people definitely know or have heard of, like in like lore and stuff like that, where if like you come across like a big giant plant out in the woods, it's a cannabis plant, it's probably somebody's guerrilla grow. And to be honest with you, definitely should leave it alone because one, you for sure as hell don't know what you're doing, right? So don't touch the cannabis plant. And two, it's probably not ready. So even if you were to go up there and harvest it, if that plant hasn't already been harvested, it's early, right? It's definitely early because the grower, the guerrilla grower who has a giant plant out in the middle of the woods, who's doing a guerrilla grow, not just for fun, but just make money from it, they know probably more about cannabis than anybody else does, at least at this time for sure, because they're the ones growing it. Now, as we get closer to like kind of like legalization and less people are doing these guerrilla grows, right? Right, you have more people do grows. The reason why people were indoors was because when it was illegal and people found out they were doing these grows outdoors, they started doing like helicopter runs over national parks and things like that and catching people's grows. And they might not even catch them there, but they're catching the grow and cutting them down. And now it's like, damn, that's like all my money for the year. What am I supposed to do? And so that's not putting people in a tight spot that made them might do something else that got them caught up or something like that. Or now they're trying to set up another grow somewhere else that gets them caught, right? Where that was the low key spot. Until now you got these helicopters flying over everywhere and they're, catching people and stuff like that. And it is not easy at this time to be a grower. And so what ends up happening is people are bringing their plants indoors more and more to avoid getting caught by these helicopters, eventually to the point where now they're actually just using grow lights, just using like regular house lights to grow their plants with. That's actually how these things started, with just like regular light bulbs. People started noticing that their plants were still growing indoors, even though they weren't getting in any sunlight. And they're like, how is that? And so people put two and two together that it must be the light bulbs. Like the light bulbs itself are giving off enough light for the plants to grow, right? And so that's how the first grow lights started, where they were just like little LED bulbs, like little bulbs, and they would screw a bunch of them in to a giant light, like wire, and like you'd have like one bulb per plant, and that'd be like 90 watts of light per plant, which is sufficient enough to grow a cannabis plant. You'll grow a cannabis plant with that. And so you got people in like Colombia and stuff growing in like these blacked out greenhouses that have like hundreds and hundreds of like 90-watt light bulbs and just like decent sized cannabis plants for 90 watts of light. You might be getting a little bit of mixture of a light from the surrounding bulbs in your area, but for the most part each bulb is what light amount of light you're getting. You're getting about 90 watts of light per plant. And these are like little squatty, medium-sized, indoor-looking plants. Like something that you would grow indoors. Or it's not like a giant mesolithic plant, like something giant, right? And so, fuck, dude, that shit was crazy, dude. You know. So people grow indoors nowadays mostly because of that, but I find that you get less of a quality from growing indoors because you don't get like that natural wear and tear on the plants. And by the time you start getting closer to flowering, the season and the heat and the wind and the humidity and all that type of stuff are starting to slow down. And it's not really going to pick up again until we get like late September, early October. Really not going to get a lot of wind in my area. And so, for instance, if we flip into flower early August, we'll have all of August, basically all of September, depending on the strains. And like, if you've like put your plants, like if you do your work beforehand, your plants should be able to stay outdoors pretty long. And I'll tell you how to do that. That's called cold hardiness. You can fertilize for that, and you can also train your plants for that. How is that? So you just put them out during the day when it's still too cold out, and then bring them in and then put them back under their lights during the nighttime. Right. What that'll do is kind of build up a cold hardiness, because outside, let's say it's the middle of the day and it's let's say 50, 60 degrees, 45 at the lowest. I wouldn't go any lower than 45. If your plants are it'll kill your plants if it gets too cold. You'll kill your root zone, especially in a pot. The soil will get super wet and cold and moldy and mildewy, and you'll start to get that weird kind of like anaerobic smell where things like all of the microbiology is starting to die off in the soil. There's a reason why I don't really do that to my plants because one, it's not really needed, and two, you can do that later in the season when it's still in like the 60s, 70s, like 60s, high 60s, mid 60s, like 65 being the lowest that I really like to build cold hardiness to, is because the thing is that 65 degrees is pretty cold for a cannabis plant, and two, unless you're growing a strain that grows in like a high mountainous rate area like India, Pakistan, the Himalayas, Afghanistan, places like that or really in Africa too. Africa has very very many mountains and high tropical like high mountain, high cold areas in Africa too. There's still areas that snow in Africa if you didn't know. Morocco for sure being one of them, and they grow a lot of weed in Morocco. So if you were to go down to Morocco and get some, Moroccan weed, and they found seeds in it, those will have like a better cold hardiness than something that's like, you know, for instance, something interesting like Afghanistan, something that's down in like the desert area of Afghanistan, not up in the mountains of Afghanistan. That's not going to have a very good cold hardiness. But like if you got some shit, that was like from Pakistan maybe instead of Afghanistan, and then yeah, you might find some stuff that can take a little bit of a cold night, right? It can drop down into like the 50s and still be all right. Right? And now what will end up happening instead of getting bud rot because it dropped into the 50s, you'll get more color because of that. You'll start to get more purple. You start to get more like lime. You'll start to get more orange. You'll start to get more green. You'll get some more blues. You'll get some more reds. You'll get some grays. You'll get some blacks, violets. There's a lot of colors of cannabis, to be honest with you. And to be real with you, I feel like a lot of the strains that were starting to come out right before legalization, when like medical was really at its height, I think a lot of them are yet to still hit the legal market because of the fact of taxes and the cost of trying to get into the legal industry is so freaking high, son, that it's almost like, God damn, son, like, what are you supposed to do? You know, so that's why we haven't had like a big new strain. That's why we still have Girl Scout cookies and gelatos and Skittles, and it's because some of these new strains that are hidden still are hidden by breeders or hidden by people who are um, low key breeders who maybe started in the 90s. Maybe they were breeding in the 90s. It's not guaranteed just because you were in the cannabis game that you got super rich. Really, the real rich dudes in the cannabis game, the people that everybody really wants to be, the people that everybody talks about, Cookies, Cal Cushman, Kevin Georgery, they've been around for decades. Everybody knows who they are. That's why they made so much money. Unless you own a storefront in a popular area, you're not going to make that much money in cannabis, unfortunately. Unless you know a lot of people, unless you have weed on you where you can flip hella weed at any given to anybody for a few $1,000s or whatever it is, you're not going to make that much money. And unless you're in like and especially unless you're in the dark, in the black market, unless you're operating illegally, you're seriously not going to make any money now, because if you're in the legal market now, you're dealing with taxation, and the market got cut literally damn near in the half, like by 40%, right? Because you have to think about it. Taxation, I think they lowered it to 20% now. That's still too high, but at one point it was 40%. So everybody's profit at that point now has got slashed by 40%. So if I was making $100,000 a year, that's 40 grand now out of my pocket. Now I'm only making 60 grand a year because 40% of it got taxed. And that's exactly what happened as soon as they legalized it. And they didn't care. Like, it wasn't like, oh, okay, we'll fix it. All right, that is kind of high. It was kind of like a literal fuck you. If you can't afford it, don't grow weed legally. Don't then you can't afford it. That's it. You're kind of shit out of luck. And that's how they treated it. And when they did that, that's what really caused the black market, which is kind of like shitty almost too, because it's kind of like, one, a fuck you to the people who really legalized it. Two, it's a shitty way to make money for the government to overtax a previously illegal, still technically illegal under federal law, um, uh, narcotic. It's like almost kind of like, goddamn, how sleazy. Um, it makes you think like, damn, Gavin Newsom's a pretty shitty governor almost in the sense of especially when it comes to weed and some of his other policies. He's definitely a corporate. corporate leaning Democrat. Do not want to vote for him. If you have any choice, like if you have a choice, it's kind of like almost like, man, fuck this, and I am not voting for any of these fucking dudes. These dudes are jack clowns. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can just tell they're all bought out. It gets worse as the more Republican you get with them, the worse it gets. The more Democrat you get with them, like the more mainstream Democrat, Nancy Pelosi Democrat you get with them, the shittier they get. The only people that you really can trust that work for the government or in the government are a handful of people. That's that. So, you know, unfortunately, they bamboozled all of us, right? They use the word recreational legal when technically it was already kind of recreationally legal. I mean, who had a real problem trying to get their medical card in 2016? Nobody. That's why they made it legal, is because so many people were smoking it medically as if it was recreationally legal. Then they were like, well, we should just make it recreationally legal. Who cares? What's the difference? Difference is one, you could buy less weed now, right? It went from people who could buy pounds of weed at a time couldn't. That was a big deal at first, right? So like they're like, oh well, if you just get your medical card, you can get an extra ounce. He's like, okay, well that's just 2 ounces now. I wanted a pound, and where's the other 14 ounces, right? And so they got rid of all that stuff. One, to curb drug dealing, reselling the weed. Like, this is dispo weed. We got this shit from California and flew it out to Missouri or something like that. Hey, be quiet. Now I can flip that bag that I bought for $1,600. I can sell that for $5,600. I can make 5,000 off of that. Hey, shut up. Right? I can make my money back for the most part. Right? And now I'm making, at that point, now I'm making like 4,000 after I get my money back, right? Because I paid for the ounce or paid for the pound, and I got 4,000 on top of it. That's pretty good, right? That's gone. So that whole industry of flipping is pretty much dead. You don't really, because you can't buy enough weed, and weed costs so fucking much, and when you buy that much, that's like, who will fucking make any money off of this shit? That's really why they ended up taxing it so high, was to try to kill the black market. But in actuality, what they did was that they actually just made it stronger. It made more people go to the black market because they were seeking better weed, right? There's another thing is that none of the major growers, even really to this day, are in the cannabis industry. If you're a major grower who's really pushing weight like that, what was the point of going mainstream? You know, Jungle Boys and all these dudes who like are supposedly mainstream guys. This shit's kind of trash. I mean, that's a common trope is this shit's pretty trash. And that weed was a lot better when it was medically legal. And it was. You know, they try to say, oh, well, medical weed, you had cartels running into shit like that. The cartels still kind of run the weed game. Colorado, all of Colorado's dispensaries are basically money laundering businesses for the cartel. It's not like a bad thing to the cartel. You know, who gives a fuck? Like, at that point, it's the government's fault. They're being, they're the ones not doing their due diligence. They're the ones just letting anybody get, who has the money, sell weed. It's like the only people who have that type of money are the people who were doing that shit illegally. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, did you want like kind of regular, nice citizens who really just wanted weed to be legal because, oh, I smoked it in high school or smoked it as in college or something like that, and I used to love it, but once my life hit, I couldn't risk going to jail, so I had to give it up. But I used to love, smoking a little weed and chilling, relaxing, and stuff like that. Like that shit was always the shit back in the day. That's all gone now too, son. I mean, you can basically do. There's like nothing from the medical industry that survived. You used to be able to win weed for free. So, for instance, if you bought an ounce, you would get an ounce for free, right? You can't do that anymore, right? Not even at like really, not even at like a medical state spot. Can you do the oh well, if you spin the wheel, you'll get a bunch of new money, you get a bunch of free weed. So that's really why people got into weed so much, was that because you could get so much for free. It wasn't even that like it was so cheap or anything like that. Ounces are still 200 for top shelf ounce, 100 for a mid, 50 for a low shelf, right? Which is not really worth it, but might be if you're kind of not really like not into weed, right? Because at that point, anything will get you high. Neighbors came outside, so I'm gonna move over here. What's up, man? What's up, man? Man! Hey, man! Big boy and buddy. And buddies. Come on, man. Look at your spot. You got a big space now. Look, you got all this room to run around and do some stuff. Buddy. Buddy and big boy. Good boy. You want some dinner? Some dinners? Okay, okay. Hold on. Hold on. Don't be tiny. You're crazy, boy. You're crazy. You're crazy. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. No, don't hurt him, buddy. Don't hurt him. Buddy, don't hurt him. No, big boy, don't jump. Get out. Me or like why are you keep moving the camera? Does it work? Yeah. Can you move it? Because that fucking camera pisses me off, son. I'm sorry. I was talking to myself right there because I was thinking out loud, but my fucking neighbor's camera would be pissing me the fuck off. I was trying to think of a polite way I could tell him to move that shit. But fuck it. But fucking. No, I'm just kidding. Just look at this goddamn circle. Soil looks pretty good. And you, buddy! You're a big boy. You're my buddy. Don't, big boy, don't. Do not. So, we are going to probably do a part 2 to amending a raised bed video. So, it'll be amending a raised bed part 2. And, that's about it. Then we'll do a part 3 when the 50 pounds of alfalfa. Buddy, get out from there. The 50 pounds of alfalfa, the 50 pounds of flaxseed, and the other 15 pounds of gypsum gets here. We're going to throw all that into the raised bed too. I'm thinking, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking almost as if. Buddy, don't do it, buddy. I'm thinking as if Buddy and Big Boy, knock it off. It's too much noise. I'm thinking as if I should maybe just do the alfalfa meal, the 50 pounds of alfalfa meal, and the 15 pounds of gypsum, and just hold on to the 50 pounds of flaxseed meal for the raised bed, for the pots. I think that'll be a little bit better to amend our raised pots for the summer growth. We'll also have to add like some type of calcium supplement, but I only think I got like 4 or 5 pots that should be going outside. So it'll be strawberry mango haze, Grape Canyon, Tropicana. Hey, big boy, where you at? Nutty ass dog, sit out. So Skittles, Tropicana cookie, mango haze. Well, what the fuck else? Side of the pie. Oh, and wedding cake. Yay. That's it though. Apples and bananas and the gelato are gonna go indoors. Are gonna stay indoors. That will flip probably as soon as we throw everything outdoors. Probably so sometime in May we'll flip. So that'll be finished in July. Then we'll have another harvest in like October sometime. But yeah, we'll probably flip either sometime in May or maybe sometime in April. We'll flip and start kind of getting the cold hardiness up because what we'll do is we'll flower at night to kind of curb some of the heat in summer and the coldness in spring because we'll finish in summertime if we flip in March, or if we flip in April we'll finish in June. So flowering at night will curve a lot of the heat during the day And since we'll also be flipping the flower in kind of early spring, that'll curb the coldness at night. So that'll help us in two different ways. Is helping curb off the cold so our plants don't get too cold during nighttime. So flower at night during the winter, and I normally flower at night during the summer too because summers are too hot, and so you don't really want to flower during the day because your plants might run into heating issues, especially during flower. You don't want to run into that. And then so in the summer you flower at night, and during the winter you flower at night to stave off the cold. Since it's so cold, you might as well just flower at night too during the winter, because then you won't have to worry about oh no, it's just the headphones. So yeah, but that's about it. Actually, we'll turn the headphones off for now. No, we don't have to worry about it. So yeah, but no, yeah, I flower at night in the winter and flower at night during the summer. Stave off cold and hot heat. You know, it's just staying proactive. You got to understand that, right? But that's about it. We're almost ready for the season, though. We're almost there, buddy. Come on, give me a little time on my butt. Put that on. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. No, you bite him. Look at you bite him. Get him, buddy. Get him. Get him, buddy. Look at you. You're a baby. You bite him. I'm your friend when you bite me. When you bite me. No, I wouldn't. Come here. Big. No, you big. Too big. That was crazy, buddy. You guys need a bath. All right. I'm gonna end the stream, guys. I'm sorry. I know my hair's looking nutty today, curling after starting to curl again, but get this outro. Alrighty, but we'll see you guys soon. It is summertime. Gosh, I hate that fucking sun. I can't see shit. I look way better over here. I will see you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. I hope you're enjoying these shorts, these little edits that I'm putting out. I do enjoy making them. I do like putting them out. And so, yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed. Hit me up if you have any questions about gardening. I will answer them. I have my shirt on here. There it is. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys again soon. I'll probably be doing another live stream Wednesday when the first batch of fertilizers arrives, and I think Thursday is the next batch. So we'll do another one Thursday, and then we'll make a video and probably upload it Thursday or Friday, depending on. Stop it. Depending on on what time we finish. If we don't finish in time, then we can't do it, right, man? Tell them. Tell them. Tell them. Sorry, the dog runs still crazy. We still got a bunch to clean up in the back because of all the shit they tear up. But it's okay. They can tear up all they want. They can tear up anything they want back here. Look at this dude. Look how big this dude's neck is. Look at buddy. Look at buddy. Happy buddy. Happy buddies. Good boys. All right, we'll see you later, guys.